Pogba in talks with PSG, Barcelona and Juventus talk swap deals, Arsenal could sign James Maddison, there's a new boy on the cards at Spurs, and a transfer roundup all coming up in the next few minutes, as I'm your host Matt Froelich, you're the One Footballers, and this is the Daily News. So first up, Paul Pogba is in talks with PSG. I say Paul Pogba, I mean his super agent, Mino Raiola. He can sell absolutely any player to any club, and it looks like he might be doing the same this summer. Bit of a sticky situation for Pogba and Manchester United. They don't want to offer him a crazy new contract, which will probably see another wage increase, but they also don't want to lose him on a free next summer. So the only other feasible option, it seems, is to sell him this summer, and apparently £50 million is the amount quoted for Paul Pogba. When you take a midfielder of his talent and his ability, and his availability for 50 million, that seems like quite a good deal, especially for PSG, who have a lot of money to offer anyway. As for their signings this summer, they've actually done pretty good business. Yes, Hakimi cost quite a bit of money, but Gigi Donnarumma and Gino Wijnaldum both came in on a free transfer. Of course, they've offered new deals to Neymar, and they're trying to scrape some money together to offer Mbappe what he wants as well, so that may hit them in the purse strings just a little bit. But if they are going to go ahead and sign Paul Pogba, maybe we'll see the Pogba that we normally see for France, banging in 30-yard goals, being involved in all assets of play, and just genuinely being the talented midfielder that we know he is. At Manchester United, I still think he just struggles a little bit to fit into the system that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is playing, but maybe if Manchester United sign a defensive midfielder, it'll free up the likes of Pogba and to go alongside Bruno Fernandes and make Manchester United more of an attacking unit. But as it stands at the moment, they haven't signed a defensive midfielder, so they're having to play a double pivot in the likes of Fred and McTominay, and there isn't really a spot for Pogba because he's not taking Bruno Fernandes' spot at number 10. Moving on though, we're talking of big players making big transfers. There's a potential swap deal going on between Barcelona and Juventus if reports in Spain are to be believed. Apparently the two clubs have sat down to discuss whether or not Antoine Griezmann and Paulo Dybala moving in opposite directions will be good for both sides. Now, from Juventus' point of view, I think it'll be quite good. There's been so much talk about Paulo Dybala's future. It seems to be that they're still sticking with a 36-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo. Dybala's not going to get to play where he wants. He's not really fitting into the system. It just seems as though maybe he could put his injury worries behind him, get a fresh start, move to Barcelona. Juventus will be happy with Antoine Griezmann in return, who scores more goals than Paulo Dybala does, gives a good outlet if Cristiano Ronaldo isn't playing every single game or if Alvaro Morata's off form. And yeah, I think this would be a good deal for Juventus. But for Barcelona on the flip side, I'm not so sure. The reason they're getting Griezmann in the first place, getting rid of him, is because it costs a lot of money. Per week, there's an insane amount of wage going on Griezmann, and whilst Dybala won't cost as much as Griezmann, it's still going to be a pretty hefty amount to bring in a top player from Juventus into the club. Like, he's going to want a fairly sizable chunk of money per week. The good point is that if they get rid of Griezmann, they don't have to spend money on a replacement because they're getting Paulo Dybala as part of the swap deal, so that's less money of an outlay. But after all of this, I'm not so sure Paulo Dybala fits in if Lionel Messi is still the one that they're building the team around, and well, of course he is. They're putting so much effort into re-signing, let's not forget Lionel Messi, because technically he's a free agent. I'm not so sure they're going to go and sign someone like Paulo Dybala, who plays in a similar position, and if they want to play him up front, he scores even less goals than Antoine Griezmann does. So I'm also not sure that's going to be quite a good move. And if he's to play out wide on the wing, he's taking game time away from some very, very exciting youngsters at Barcelona, especially including the likes of Ansu Fati. And they've also just signed Sergio Aguero and Memphis Depay as well. I'm not so sure then, if we're talking about all these players, if Paulo Dybala, not even being a guaranteed starter, maybe a squad player, is worth a 200, 300, 400k a week, whatever he's going to be earning. Next up though, and to a signing that could well be worth it. In the last few days, I've been talking quite a lot about Arsenal and their transfer window because, well, they've done pretty good business. It looks like Granit Xhaka will be leaving the club. They've brought in Nuno Tavares, Ben White is very, very close to joining, and a few other deals have been going their way, and the next one could be massive, and that is the signing of Leicester City's James Maddison. Now, he spent a few years in the Premiership with Leicester and proven himself to be a fantastic number 10, a spot that Martin Odegaard had for Arsenal last season. Arteta liked Odegaard, he liked the way he fitted into his system, but unfortunately the loanee decided to stick with parent club Real Madrid. So, signing a replacement in James Maddison looks like a pretty good move. He's English as well, so it helps with the English quota. As for his weekly wage, there's a report in England saying that he'll be signing a 200k a week deal, which I think is a bit excessive for Maddison. And also, considering the deal is on at Leicester, I'm not quite sure what he's on, but I can't imagine it's anything more than 50 to 60k a week. That is an insane deal, but fair play to him. If Arsenal are offering, he's definitely going to sign on that dotted line. As for talks with Leicester, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. They're going to want some money for their prized asset, and Leicester do not need to sell. They've sold so many players recently, they've put together such a fantastic squad that they don't necessarily need the money. But if they're going to sell James Maddison for around £50 million, which again is the reported price in the newspapers in England, Arsenal think they can bargain them down just a little bit by adding in a fringe player or two in return. One of the names being Reiss Nelson, who, despite the fact he had a okay loan at Hoffenheim in Germany a few years ago, came back to the squad and never really stepped up and made the difference that the likes of Bukayo Saka are making. So maybe they'll be willing to get rid of Reiss Nelson. Oh, on top of this, though, some bad news for Arsenal, actually, is that they've had to cancel their pre-season tour of the United States of America because a few of their travelling party have tested positive for COVID. Moving up, though, and moving away from Arsenal and to Tottenham, because we seem to have done that quite a few times this week's Daily News. There's no bias here, guys. They're just making the news, so it's a lot of Premier League action going on. So as with Tottenham, they are very, very close to agreeing their second signing of the transfer window behind Pierluigi Golini from Atlanta, and that is Bryan Gil. I think I pronounced that right. Probably not. The Sevilla attacking midfielder is moving to North London in a swap deal for not only Eric Lamela, but €25.5 million as well. This brings an end to the 8-year stay at Tottenham for Eric Lamela. 8 years. He was signed with all that Gareth Bale money back in 2013, and he was replaced by Gareth Bale last season. It's an astonishing turn of events. Whilst Eric Lamela has been good in patches for Tottenham, he's never quite been so consistent, and now he's moving on to Sevilla, and Gil is moving in the opposite direction. A very exciting attacking youngster, but we're nowhere near seeing his full potential yet. Hopefully, Nuno Espirito Santo can bring that out of him. Anyway, the player is currently away with Spain at the Olympics in Tokyo, which is starting very soon. Finally then, a quick run up at the rest of the day's transfer news, where Justin Kluivert has left Roma on a one-year loan and joined Nice. Everton are reportedly interested in Juventus defender Merih Demiral, who is going to cost around £35 million. On top of this, they're also interested in Ozan Kabak, who has not been signed by Liverpool, and it now looks as though the Goodison Park side and Crystal Palace are both interested in the Turkish defender. And lastly but not least, I left this to the end because it's the most ridiculous transfer rumour I've heard today, and it's that Chelsea representatives have started talks with Robert Lewandowski's agent over a move for the Bayern Munich forward. And that, my friends, is not happening. Honestly, I will say now, I think there's more chance of Haaland signing for Chelsea than there is Lewandowski, and I give Haaland about a 5% chance of happening. Anyway, that's all from me for today. Make sure you check out all the rest of our content coming up on screen now, and until next time, I will see you guys later.